Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We have another Wise conversation ahead here. Big shout out to our friends at Wise Markets for supporting us. We're going to have Rob Santoni and a whole bunch of the leadership folks on here over the next year talking nutrition. And my wife even has me going on to the website now and ordering groceries to the door. I like the produce aisle. I mean, that's one thing about I like going out and looking at my meats and looking at the frozen foods and checking out all the items. But I'm going to be doing that online with Wise to Go as well. Leonard Raskin is also one of our great sponsors at Raskin Global. Last week with some great advice about spring cleanup. You know, we started talking about getting shots and the world coming back to normal. I've even got Camden Yards here behind me with the beautiful sun. We're 2 weeks out on opening day. We got a real March Madness where I've said the world stopped for a year and really nothing's been normal the last year. Not the Ravens seat. Nothing's been normal. But sitting this weekend and trying to find True TV and watching 64 basketball games, it feels like we're on the road to normal, Leonard, finally. Right?
Here's hoping, my friend. Here's hoping. I'll tell you, it's a little weird, though. I looked at the brackets. I got to do the bracket. You got to do the bracket challenge because, you could win something. Like, not really. But anyway, I looked at the brackets, and the one thing that jumped out at me about the brackets is it doesn't matter as much, it seems, who you play when, where, because there is no east, west, north, south kind of thing. So there's no, 12, 14, 15 seed that has to fly across the country 2 days before the game to play. They're all where? Indianapolis. Can you believe it? Of all the places.
You forgot the best part. There's no 15 seed flying anywhere to play Duke.
Well, there you go. How about that? How about that? I got to tell you, man, it was good to see that.
Look, you're kicking at Ohio State all day. That's fine, as long as you didn't go to Duke, right? I mean,
hey, there you go. I'm with you. My wife wanted him to go to Duke. He wasn't interested. He was it was too warm for him. That's the bottom line. He wanted somewhere cold, and he went to Ohio State. And I'll tell you, the championship game, Big Ten championship game, they said was the most watched college basketball game of the year so far. The Ohio State Illini game, that was one heck of a basketball game.
Well, all this hemming and hawing we had about Maryland leaving the ACC because the ACC was going to be so great and whatever.
Yeah.
I've said this from the very beginning, even though it was sort of plotting and bigger and Midwestern and who is Northwestern and who is Nebraska as a basketball program. This was the right move, I think, for Maryland all along. And yeah. I think now that it's settled in, the Big Ten turns out to be the better basketball conference right now.
Go figure. Nine schools out of the Big 10, 14, I call it. I don't know when they're going to change the name, if they're ever going to change the name. But it's kind of weird that the Big 10, I think it's 14.
Well, you can't call it 14 when you have you're going to add two more and two more and two more.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They should just call it the Big Conference. The Big Conference. They're getting
Pac
bigger.
Went 12, though, didn't it?
Pac-12.
Yeah.
Pac-12.
I still call it the Pac-12.
The big getting bigger conference. How about Georgetown? It's not, they're not Maryland, right? They're not Maryland, but they're kind of local. They went up to Madison Square Garden and beat up the Big East and won that tournament. That was a shocker.
I totally forgot Patrick Ewing was coaching there, right? Like it.
Yeah, how about that?
I saw him on TV over the weekend, and I'm like, how about that? And Ewing back at the Garden, and
yeah, a little bit of a stink the day before the final.
Yeah,
you hear about that? Did you read that?
So for basketball to sort of come back onto the radar in that way, and then this weekend, we don't really have much else going on, the weather's not going to be that great either, that these games are going to be wall to wall. Consumer confidence, right? Especially in your line of work with money and what you do. But I think the weather, the shots, I mean, half of my relationship is vaccinated. My wife's vaccinated, and she's going to go spend some time with her mom and her family over the next month too. So
hey, the boy called yesterday. Ohio State starting, I think, 2 weeks from now is going to vaccinate all students over 18.
So your boy's going to come home with a shot before you get one?
He might have the opportunity to have one before his mother and I. It's kind of crazy world.
Well, we are manufacturing. To get on to business. Leonard Raskin joining us here from Raskin Global. You can find him out at Baltimore Positive at Raskin Global. From a business standpoint, the notion that the shot all of a sudden feels like we're all going to get one. For everybody pushing to the front of the line and whatever the chicanery, I can't get online, I can't make my appointment. I thought all along, wake me on 4th of July. And if we're still having problems making shots, and, it was kind of like Obamacare in the beginning. Nobody could get online. And then after 6 months, the people that wanted it got it. The people that hated it still hate it. And that's fine, wherever you are. But the fact that things don't work on day one for something that's never worked, like a vaccine in this country that we didn't even know about a year ago.
That's
fact
right.
that we are 365 days in now, deaths aside, leadership aside, inject bleach aside, all of that aside, we've got over 100 million people vaccinated. We've got all these shots coming. Your boy's in line to get one. I feel like I think the confidence of humans right now is if I want a shot, I'll have one by the summer, and I'll be able to go to football games in the fall. And right now that doesn't sound – I know a year ago was the 14-day, the 3-week, that sounded like it was immense. But to me, if I'm at ball games this summer, we get concerts back, and I get this shot whenever I get it, I'm going to be okay with that as an American. As someone who survived it, I will be happy with that.
Hey, these companies pulled off a modern day miracle. Say what you will about our last president. I mean, he put the challenge to them to find a vaccine for this thing, said it would be available by year's end, and sure enough, it was. And he caused the FDA to move mountains to change regulation or ignore some regulation to get this thing approved so there could be shots in arms. Now, clearly, the ramp up of the manufacturing, just to say, some people have said, well, there wasn't enough and they didn't make enough and we didn't buy enough. The fact is, as you just said, 6 months ago, we didn't have one. To now have 3 that are FDA approved for use, and these companies, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, to step up in the world that they operate in, where, man, these trials take years, 5, 7, 10 years, and to pop that out in 5, 7, 10 months is historic and fascinating and stunning. And as you said, the fact that now they can ramp up production. You weren't going to ramp up production to millions and millions and tens and hundreds of millions of doses when you didn't have something that was available or approved.
Well, look at the Johnson & Johnson here in Baltimore alone.
That's right.
Like, my wife gets into the queue a month ago, hoping to get 2 shots, booking a second flight to to come home and get a shot, right? And Johnson & Johnson gets approved on a Friday, manufactured on a Tuesday. My dear friend Marty Bass told me on that Wednesday or Thursday, he said, hey, one of my cameramen got the Johnson & Johnson over at the stadium. I'm like, my wife's got a shot on Saturday. Boom. She shows up. She got 1 shot. She's done. That was 2 weeks ago now. And
right. And that wasn't approved a month ago. And it wasn't thought of 6 months ago. It's a creation of the opportunity that America can create this by saying, look, Kennedy said, we will send a man to the moon and bring him back safely. And it happened because he spoke it into reality. And Trump said, like I said, love him or hate him, we will have a vaccine and we will be
where I
shooting
stand
people.
on that.
I get it. But we will be shooting people in the arm, and we will have this vaccine available for people. And the manufacturers are going to do this. And sure enough, they did. So,
well, watching my wife have her life saved, 7 years ago, it'd be 7 years ago this Saturday that she was diagnosed. So it's a 7-year anniversary. So she's been clean over 5 years now, which from a medical perspective, I remember 7 years ago this Saturday, we were watching March Madness, literally at 5 o'clock over at the,
full fear
at the hospital, and they come in and say, you have cancer. And the fact that she's still in the other room twice after bone marrow transplants, that when this plague started a year ago, I knew if we were running on the same level ground, we could get through this, right? If we did things the right way. I knew there would be medicine. But this is, even by my standards, this is an incredible modern marvel. It really is.
I'm telling you, I said to people 6 months ago, 8 months ago, the first couple months was just pure crazy. Nobody knew. But shortly thereafter, I said, if this thing is going to happen, this is the best time in history for it to have happened. We have the most incredible technology, artificial intelligence, computer systems, manpower, woman power, brain power, people out there that were working to solve this and to figure out, that have been working. Some of these people have been working on this kind of vaccine we'll call it, this kind of mRNA vaccine thing for years, not specifically for this, but for the intention of something like this might happen. And they hypothesized that this would work and that this would be the way to solve pandemic kind of stuff. And sure enough, unleashed with the opportunity of money and brain power, they have created a miracle for the world. And you look all over the world, this is not a United States thing. It was solved here, but this is a worldwide thing. This is stuff that people are going to take everywhere. And
well,
man, like you said,
some getting shots
semblance
in the arm as quick as we are here either.
Right, right. Some semblance of normalcy, like you said. I think the Birds are going to have 11,000 for opening day. They say not going to have a pitcher, but they're going to have 11,000 people in the stands.
Opening day around the corner. Leonard Raskin is here. Raskin Global, RaskinGlobal.com, the way to make your American dream a reality. Certainly the sports reality is here and free agency is here. This is where football gets fun next couple weeks, especially if you like the draft, you like free agency. Turmoil in Houston, turmoil in Seattle. The Eagles managed to get rid of their quarterback. The Ravens are signing players. New England's giving money out like it's monopoly money at this point. The sports clock, if it stopped for a year or if it was frozen in time, it does feel like with vaccines and with the Masters and the Derby and the Preakness and semblances of normal coming back from a sports fan's perspective. And I know, you're waiting for the Caps who beat the Islanders the other night too.
Hey, Caps are playing good hockey. Islanders had won 9 in a row, and Caps had won 9 of 10. And it was a epic battle. First period crazy, second and third wild, and Caps pulled out a 3-1 win. Look, Ovi's climbing the charts, man. If you're not a hockey fan, if you thought you wanted to watch a hockey game just to see what's going on, you'd be remiss not to check in on Alex Ovechkin in a game. This guy is the top goal scorer in the NHL. Now 10 years running, and maybe for the next 5 or 10 to come, he could end up being the greatest goal scorer of all time when it's all said and done. And to think, not quite in our backyard, again, like Georgetown, not Baltimore, but DC, the Caps, I've been going to hockey games for 30 years, man, and the opportunity to watch this guy play hockey is just fantastic. I got to see Gretzky back in the day. Look, you and I got to see Jordan. We get to see Tiger Woods play golf. If you don't go watch Ovechkin shoot a hockey puck and play some hockey, everybody in the building, including everybody on the ice on the other team, and most importantly, including the goalie, the man in the net for the other team, knows exactly what's coming and when and how and can't stop it. This guy is phenomenal. And so Caps are on top of the division. That's a good thing. Ravens are paying some free agents. They're picking up a couple free agents. Here's hoping we keep somebody on the defense. We lost a few guys, but look, the good news is, as has been in the past, I think you'll certainly agree, lots of Ravens players on the defense, on all sides, but particularly on the defense, go all over the league to get paid. And
Ngakwe was a short-term rental.
Yeah, sure.
They weren't going to give him that kind of money.
No, I'm talking Judon.
Judon, that was pretty obvious that they weren't going to marry him.
Right, but the point I'm making is lots of players in the past, lots of them have left here to go play elsewhere and gotten big checks. And as a capitalist, I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic.
Well, yeah, and including Chris Board, who got paid here as well. Leonard Raskin's here. We're talking a little Ravens football. You mentioned hockey, and I want to throw a hockey because I'm wearing a red hat here, a little Pizza John's hat. But you ever see my Steve Seftel jersey, my old Skipjacks jersey that I've worn?
No.
So I haven't told this story. I covered the Skipjacks back in the 80s, right? I was the beat writer of the paper. So my first day of practice when the Capitals took over the Skipjacks, because they were always the Penguins, right?
Yeah.
You went to Skipjacks games. So this is
Absolutely.
87, 88, 89. They changed organizations, and I had to learn all the Capitals farmhands. At that time, I'm thinking Jeff Greenlaw and Steve Seftel and a bunch of guys, Jim Rivnak, guys that played for the Skipjacks, Tyler Larder, Chris Felix. These were all the guys. So in 2001, it was 2 weeks after we won the Super Bowl, that fateful day.
Yeah.
I was nationally syndicated, And I was on the air in Portland, Maine. All right.
Hmm.
So Portland, Maine is where our hockey team went, right? And Barry
Yeah.
Trotz was the coach of the the Portland Mariners then, right? Portland Pirates is what they called them.
Pirates, right?
Pirates, that's what they became. So they left here in 91, and this is in 01. They had already won the Calder Cup and had done all of that.
Yep.
And when I went up there, I was on a junket. The radio station brought me up. They put me at this beautiful inn at the sea and brought me a lobster as big as my MacBook Pro, like this. And I was playing bubble hockey in a bar with a bunch of the players who were on the injured list. And fans came out, ate pizza with me, and I signed pictures, and we gave stuff away. It was a radio event, right?
Yeah.
But part of the event was I got to drop the puck at the Portland Pirates game.
There you go.
And the old Skipjacks equipment manager went with the team to Portland. He took the chest of all the old Skipjacks jerseys to Portland and took the crests off. Remember, they would keep the sweater, and they would pull Skipjacks off and slap Maine. But when they got up there, Tom Ebright bought new jerseys, or the Caps brought jerseys. So all of the Skipjacks jerseys remain in a box in the attic of this dude. Mm-hmm. So I come to Portland. He listens to the radio station. I knew him only a little bit. I didn't really know this. I don't really remember his name, to be honest with you. So it's 20 years. He comes out to this pizza parlor, and he sees me, and I sort of recognize him. He's like, hey, dude, I work for the Skipjacks. I live here now. I moved here with the team. I got another job, whatever, But I have all these old Skipjacks jerseys. Do you want one? And I'm like, yeah. He said, I got them all. Name your player. Name whether you want the red one or the white one. And I'll bring it to you tonight at the game. Okay. So I said, Steve Seftel was my buddy. He was the sweetest guy. He was a nice guy. He was just a good person.
Yeah.
He was the first guy I really got to know. I said, if you have Steve Seftel's jersey, give it to me. I'll wear it. So that night he brings me Steve Seftel's jersey, number 14.
That's funny.
So I wore Seftel's jersey, a Skipjacks jersey, from Baltimore out to drop the puck. Be like wearing a Colts jersey at the Ravens game, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I got some booze, because the place was packed. There's an old arena up there. And I took the jersey home, and I've been wearing it for 20 years, okay?
That's
so here's your hockey story. So
there
last summer, I'm cleaning out my closet, and I have two Skipjacks jerseys. I have a plain one that fits me, and I have Seftel's Gamer that's made for
huge.
It's huge, And so and Steve's become my friend on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and he's had some challenges, mental health challenges. He's talked about it. He's written a book called Shattered Ice. He's a wonderful man. He lives up in Toronto. I took the jersey, and I dropped it off at Robbie's first base, and I shipped it to him without him knowing.
There you go.
And he got the jersey the other day. So he put it up on Facebook, and it made me cry. I mean, so there's Steve, who's 49 years old now, or 50 years old now, with his two kids, and I sent him his jersey. So there's your hockey story. There's
Amen.
You wanted to talk some hockey. That's my hockey story.
Good stuff. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
I wrote to him. I said, it was always your jersey. I just borrowed it. And it was a gift to me. How can I not give it to him and his family?
So here's a hockey story from the Wayback Machine. We're talking Clippers. Wayback Machine.
Okay.
Clippers.
Howie Menard.
My father, back in the way back day, worked for the Clippers a little bit, and my aunt, my mother's sister, babysat Ron Hextall.
I got one Ron Hextall story.
His father was on the Clippers back in the day, and
Ron Hextall's father played for the Clippers.
He was affiliated with the Clippers, and my aunt babysat little baby Ron.
You know what? I'm going to Google this up because I have one Ron Hextall story, and
he's now co-general manager of the Penguins, of all things.
Hextall is a third-generation NHL player. His grandfather, Brian, played 11 seasons with the Rangers and was inducted into Hockey Hall of Fame. His grandfather's in the Hall of Fame, 1969.
There you go.
His father, Brian Hextall, played in the NHL for 10 seasons, notably for the Penguins, and his uncle, Dennis Hextall, played 14 seasons. So here's my Hextall story.
Yeah.
I'm covering the Skipjacks Let me get the year right because I'm going to look it up on his resume so I get the exact year right. It was 85, 86. He played 53 games for the Hershey Bears that year, okay?
There you go. Yep.
Before he went to Philadelphia. He was in the net for a game against the skipjacks that weren't a real team.
Right.
Remember the 1 year Ubriaco got left holding the bag where he had Murray Bannerman playing goal, who was 102 years old. He had guys from all over Europe coming in, guys he pulled from the Italian Olympic team. It was the independent year that they had here. And the team was just a bunch of ragamuffins. There was like nobody on the team.
Right.
They were probably 11-62. Gene was trying to keep the team alive so that the Capitals would come in. And they did. You know what I mean?
Right.
I could just get Gene on to talk about this. So Hextall plays in a game, and I'm the beat reporter. I was at the Evening Sun at this time. So it's 86, okay? And I have my little reporter's notebook, right? Hextall gave up like 8 goals and got pulled in a minor league game, and he is a guy who is thought to be the next goaltender of the Flyers.
Right. Yep.
He got pulled, and after the game, it's my job. I'm 17 years old. You have to go talk.
Interview. You got to talk to the guy.
Even if they give you the finger, you got to go. And I went into the locker room at the Royal Farms Arena now. It's the same locker room that I interviewed Paul Stanley from Kiss in.
Sure.
Big. It was an old makeup. It wasn't made for hockey players. It was made for giant mirror, and the sink. It's made. It was made for rock stars.
With the bubble lights around.
Oh, the big, the bureau lights, right? So I go in there after the game, and there's Hershey players' gear and the smell of hockey, that smells like hockey.
Yeah.
And I go over to Ron, and I have to ask who's Ron Hextall because it's a minor league hockey room. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they pointed to Hextall, and he's standing with a towel around him in the mirror with shaving cream. And I walked up to him, and I got my notebook, and I'm the only dork in there that's not a hockey player. Right. And I got my notebook, and I looked up at him, and I interviewed him through the mirror. Looking in the mirror, and he's shaving. And I'm like, Mr. Hextall, I have a few questions after the game for you. He looks at me, and he's shaving. He said, what do you need to know? And I said, well, do you have any comments on the game tonight? And he turned to me, he looked at me in the mirror and then looked at me, and he's like, I stunk. I appreciate you talking to me, Ron. I stunk, I think was the quote. I think I could find that in 1986 in the paper. But I had to interview Ron Hextall after he gave up like 8 goals.
How great.
And I was I can't think of a time in my life I was more intimidated talking to an athlete.
There you go.
Because, you're young and you're foolish.
Right.
Ron Hextall goes on and becomes Ron Hextall. I'm sure he
became a superstar. Right. Well, he might. That might have been one of those games that he'll always remember. It seems when you talk to athletes, and you know this all too well, the good games they can tell you, but the stinkers, man, they can tell you who scored on them or who picked you off if you're a quarterback or who hit the grand slam. I mean, those guys, they remember that kind of stuff.
Jim Palmer remembers every home run he ever gave up.
Yeah. Never gave up a grand slam.
Hey, he'll tell you. He'll be the first to tell you.
Never gave up a grand slam. You better believe it. He'll tell you all the time. But they remember the strikeout in the big moment or he'll clearly remember that. I don't know if he'll remember telling you he stunk, but he'll remember that game. If you were to talk to him today, I guarantee you
I'll never forget it.
Game.
I mean, I don't have another story even on that line. I mean, I mistook Ron Gant for Reggie Sanders at an All-Star game, really embarrassed myself by getting the wrong player, the wrong name of a person. But I don't ever remember going up to a player who stunk and having to ask him why he stunk as a Cub
reporter, how about,
Yeah,
how about these folks? I mean, look, it happens. After every championship, somebody's got to interview the losing coach, man. You got to say, what happened? Oh, we told our team they were great. We're proud of them. We lost.
I still remember Freddie Patek crying in the dugout, don't you?
Yeah.
I remember thinking, somebody's got to interview him. Leonard Raskin is here. He'll interview you about your money and put you in a good spot and keep you safe. Give everybody your American dream, Leonard.
Hey, my American dream? I'm living it, baby. I'm living it. I own my own business. I own my own home. I'm proud husband, father. Life is grand. And in America, the beauty is we are not India. We're not a caste system. We're not Europe. A lot of places You start poor, you end poor. You start rich, you end rich. Here, you can go from dirt to the penthouse. You can go from the penthouse to the poorhouse.
I've
And to
done
me,
that.
the American dream, there you go. The American dream is about what's your purpose for your money? What are you doing out there with it? It's one thing to have it. It's another thing to know why. And they say the two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you figure out why. When it comes to money, man, it's one thing to have it. It's another thing to know why you have it, what you want to do with it. People do amazing things. They take care of families. They take care of charities. We talked earlier. They discover cures for diseases that we couldn't even imagine could be cured. And whatever that dream is, the beauty is in this country, and you can do it. You can make anything happen that you want. You know, this pandemic, we talk about it, as horrible as it's been. There have been a lot of people across this country who lost jobs, who have started businesses, who got canned from their position and said, you know, I always wanted to do, I always wanted to be, whatever that is. And they've opened bike shops, and believe it or not, they've opened restaurants, and they've opened bars, and they've opened businesses that they never would have taken the chance to open had they not lost their job. And that's America, man. That's what it's all about. Main Street will pull us out of this. Entrepreneurs will pull us out of the bad economy. And the government can give all the free money they want. They don't have any money if it's not for entrepreneurs, people earning a living, people growing their wealth, and the government taxing some of it. So entrepreneurism, capitalism, yes, capitalism is the greatest engine for economic growth in the world, and we have it. And we have great freedom. We have the opportunity to do whatever you want. And we help people at Raskin Global discover what it is that their American dream is all about, and then how to achieve it.
Well, my man, it's always great to visit with you. You can find Leonard out on the front of BaltimorePositive.com, or you can find him at Raskin Global. Talk a little hockey, a little football, a little we'll get baseball in there next week before it's all over with, and some basketball as well. Always great to visit with you. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to tell an old Ron Hextall story. Man, when you told me about the Ron Hextall babysitting thing, you taught me something. I literally did not know that he was a legacy hockey player.
There's a Clipper connection in the family.
See that? Well, and a Flyer one too, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, and now, like I said, and now he's running the Penguins. It's very bizarre to me.
Even uglier. I found an old status I put up, the Penguins and the Flyers playing a playoff game. I was looking at Facebook, and I'm thinking, who do you root for in that one? You know what I mean? I'm thinking
injuries.
I'm not mean like that.
No, well, I am.
Maybe for the Flyers. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is the Flyers, and I like it. Leonard Raskin joining us here. Baseball around the corner, March Madness in progress, and all that we do available at WNST.net and Baltimore Positive.